Context that Timosh was talking about, the breaking news then that 5 British nationals who were racing a yacht have been detained by Iranians having strayed into Iranian water. Back with more on that to come. Vessels. The yacht was on its way from Bahrain to Dubai and may have strayed inadvertently into Iranian waters. The 5 crew members are still in Iran. All are understood to be safe and well, and their families have been informed. And this, in addition, from the Foreign Secretary. FCO officials immediately contacted the Iranian authorities in London and in Tehran on the evening of the 25th of November, both to seek clarification and to try and resolve the matter swiftly. Our ambassador in Tehran has raised the issue with the Iranian Foreign Ministry, and we've discussed the matter with the Iranian Embassy in London. I hope this issue will soon be resolved. We'll remain in close touch with Iranian authorities as well as the families. Well, let's get the very latest from our Foreign Affairs editor, Tim Marshall. It's not the first time this has happened, Tim, but clearly they've been held now already for some days.
They have. There's a number of things to say. One, they're yachtsmen and or yachtsmen and women. Diplomats don't really want to call them sailors in case they get confused with that Royal Navy incident from 2 years ago. So these are yachtsmen and or yachtsmen and women. The Foreign Office did know about this as early as Wednesday, but they decided to try and get these people out just through quiet diplomacy. And they had 2 problems. One, the Iranians are being hard to contact, shall we say, but also it was the festival of Eid, you might remember. Now, the actual festival is finished, but it's a little bit like the extended Christmas holidays in the Christian calendar, and the government can shut down for up to 6 to 10 days. So the Foreign Office has been having problems contacting the right people at the right level. You will be reminded of that incident with the Royal Navy, but there is a big difference this time. And the difference is that tensions between the United Kingdom and the Iranians are significantly higher now than they were 2 years ago.
Yes, you mentioned that incident 2.5 years ago. 15 British servicemen were taken hostage then. That was 8 Royal Navy sailors and 7 Marines seized by Iranian troops while they were carrying out a routine inspection in what the British say were Iraqi waters, not Iranian waters. I mean, that led to a considerable degree of difficulty between the 2 countries, didn't it, when they were finally handed over to a great fanfare with the Iranian President Ahmadinejad involved. Is this quite different, do you think, because they're not servicemen and the accusations therefore can't be levelled that they were spying, I suppose, in Iranian waters?
Well, that's the problem. The accusation could theoretically be levelled. And to be honest with you, the accusation will be whatever it is that the Iranians want. If they want this solved quickly, there'll be an acceptance of straying into waters. If they don't, it's going to be a protracted affair. And I think that the diplomats will want to do this as quietly as possible. I don't think they'll be wanting to point fingers, because there's not much point in, at an early stage, taking a belligerent tone. It just backs the other side into a corner. So they'll just be trying to say, look, let's deal with this. But I don't think you can divorce this incident from the what context, and that is the increasing tension between Iran and the outside world over the nuclear file. It is getting more and more tense, as we've just seen in the last couple of days. And so I think that has to play into it. And again, as 2.5 years ago, the Iranians did not take some Americans, they took some British, and that has happened again. Now, we don't know. It is quite possible the yacht did stray into Iranian waters. We don't know the full facts. There's another problem, that those territorial waters are of great dispute, including around the Bahrain area. There are islands which the Iranians claim as theirs and which have not been ever really nailed down. There is the wiggle room, if you like it. There is the argument and the debate. But if one side said they were in international waters and another side said they were in Iranian waters, you can see how there is therefore the room to have an argument about that. The Foreign Office are going to try and get these people out quietly. What they are concerned about, I would imagine, is that the 5 British people become pawns in a much bigger game.
Yes, they've taken their time letting us know about this, certainly. But given the context you're talking about, the fact that the Iranians want to enrich even more uranium, something the Americans have said tonight is totally unacceptable, is it your belief that the Iranians will really take what leverage they can, and this could be part of the leverage?
You can't rule it out. I mean, this is early days. We don't know what's in their minds. It may be a simple mistake of where the yacht was. You know, there's a whole raft of things that could happen. But there is also this possibility that because the British are seen by the Iranians as very hard line on the nuclear issue, and there is a long history between the two countries, and some of the Iranian population take a very hostile view towards the UK and the UK embassy in Tehran, and all those factors now play into that. They know the Americans are taking a reasonably tough line, the Iranians, but when they look at the European Union, they see that the British are possibly taking the toughest line. The French are very close to the British on this, but other European Union countries are less tough, Germany, for example. And so they may have chosen to make an issue out of this. We don't know, and what we have to do now, is that it's been made public after, 5 days, is wait for some official response from the Iranians, an open public response about where they say these people were taken, where they have been taken to. Is it Tehran or is it just to the coastline of Iran? And what is their version of events?
There's no suggestion, is there, that the Iranians would do anything to harm these 5? Because cases like this have been resolved. We talked about the 15 servicemen back in 2007. There's another incident I'm just seeing in July 2004 where 8 men were seized and detained after 3 patrol boats were said to have strayed once again into the Iranian side of the Shatt al-Arab waterway. They were also later released. These things do tend to end peaceably, don't they?
They do, but I would reiterate that I do think that the tension between the countries is greater now than it was in the past, notably Britain and others' response to the Iranian election this summer, and now the nuclear file, things are coming to a head. It is very doable to get people out. You admit a mistake, you accept that there is a demarcated waterline, but nobody's quite sure where it is, or at least you accept that the other side has a view on where the borderline is, and these things can always be done quickly if both parties want them to. If only one party wants it dealt with quickly, you're going to run into problems.
Stay there if you don't mind, because as you said, the context of this is getting quite serious. Certainly Iran's announcement that it wants to build 10 new uranium enrichment plants has been widely criticised, with France's foreign minister accusing Tehran of playing a dangerous game. And as Sky's chief correspondent Stuart Ramsey reports, economic sanctions could now be on the cards.
If Iran's nuclear ambitions were a problem, they're fast turning into a major headache with quite literally explosive ramifications, and it's getting worse. The hardline parliamentary speaker's musing that he sees little point in Iran staying within the nuclear non-proliferation treaty just adds to the growing view that Tehran is prepared to antagonise the international community. Russia says it's concerned, France says there should be last chance talks, Germany's urging cooperation while Britain is mulling over plans for new sanctions. In short, they don't know what to do, mainly because Iran is so unpredictable.
Ahmadinejad and some of his competitors are just trying to be as hardline as possible because they are quite scared, and when you're scared you lash out. So I think we're seeing a fear of the internal situation reflected in aggression in the external realm.
After the International Atomic Energy Agency censured Iran for secretly building a second uranium enrichment plant in a mountain bunker near the holy city of Qom, relations have continued to deteriorate. Iran insists its program is peaceful, but the physics of nuclear technology tell us that the latest expansion plans could produce weapons-grade materials, but not the material needed to fuel nuclear power plants. In the midst of this tension, Iran's defence war games based on a first strike scenario from an unnamed aggressor only adds to the sense that everyone is getting very jittery. Certainly Israel, the likely unnamed aggressor, is talking tough.
We in the international community have a lot to do, because I think if we are determined and if we stand together and we make it absolutely clear to this regime that there's a price tag to this behavior, maybe we'll be able to change things.
The hope is that there's still enough room for talking to continue. Britain and the United States are still preoccupied with Afghanistan, for example, and even the toughest talking Iranian leaders at least saying diplomacy may still work. But time is running out. Stuart Ramsey, Sky News.